The station was loud, the kind of loud that came from 1,000 different species trying to haggle over parts, trade gossip, and complain about docking fees all at once. Rin had learned to tune most of it out. After 5 years as an engineer on Oriali's trade hub, background chaos was as natural as air. What he couldn't tune out was the smell of fried Kelta root drifting from the food stalls. His stomach reminded him he hadn't eaten since yesterday, mostly because his paycheck had mysteriously been converted into a stack of overdue bills. He shifted a heavy crate of plasma couplings onto a hover cart, muttering under his breath, "One day, I'll invent a crate that carries itself." A vendor polishing his cybernetic arm overheard and shouted, "That's called legs, human." Rin waved him off with a grin. "Then sell me some legs that work overtime." He steered the hovercart through the crowd, dodging a group of insected traders clicking angrily at each other over the price of silk. As he passed a row of glowing star maps, he noticed someone moving against the flow, tall and graceful, her steps deliberate as if the crowd parted for her. Rin didn't mean to stare. He was tired, hungry, and prone to people watching when he should have been minding his path. But the woman caught his attention in a way that made him slow down. She looked human at first glance, skin smooth with a faint shimmer like starlight caught under her surface, long black hair that seemed too perfect to be the result of chance. And then there were her ears. Long, elegant, curved back slightly as if sculpted from living silver. She met his gaze with clear, curious eyes. Something inside Rin's stomach lurched, definitely not hunger this time. Reflexively, he gave a polite nod and said, "Hey." It was nothing, just a greeting. 2 syllables tossed into the chaos of the trade hub. He turned back to his hover cart, already calculating how many bolts he'd need to fix docking bay 12. Then the world exploded, not literally. If it had been literal, the insurance company would have sent him another angry mess. The station was loud, the kind of loud that came from 1,000 different species trying to haggle over parts, trade gossip, and complain about docking fees all at once. Rin had learned to tune most of it out. After 5 years as an engineer on Oriali's trade hub, background chaos was as natural as air. What he couldn't tune out was the smell of fried Kelta root drifting from the food stalls. His stomach reminded him he hadn't eaten since yesterday, mostly because his paycheck had mysteriously been converted into a stack of overdue bills. He shifted a heavy crate of plasma couplings onto a hover cart, muttering under his breath, "One day, I'll invent a crate that carries itself." A vendor polishing his cybernetic arm overheard and shouted, "That's called legs, human." Rin waved him off with a grin. "Then sell me some legs that work overtime." He steered the hovercart through the crowd, dodging a group of insected traders clicking angrily at each other over the price of silk. As he passed a row of glowing star maps, he noticed someone moving against the flow, tall and graceful, her steps deliberate as if the crowd parted for her. Rin didn't mean to stare. He was tired, hungry, and prone to people watching when he should have been minding his path. But the woman caught his attention in a way that made him slow down. She looked human at first glance, skin smooth with a faint shimmer like starlight caught under her surface, long black hair that seemed too perfect to be the result of chance. And then there were her ears. Long, elegant, curved back slightly as if sculpted from living silver. She met his gaze with clear, curious eyes. Something inside Rin's stomach lurched, definitely not hunger this time. Reflexively, he gave a polite nod and said, "Hey." It was nothing, just a greeting. 2 syllables tossed into the chaos of the trade hub. He turned back to his hover cart, already calculating how many bolts he'd need to fix docking bay 12. Then the world exploded, not literally. If it had been literal, the insurance company would have sent him another angry message about how human engineers attract too many accidents. Instead, it was the kind of explosion where the woman suddenly stopped, froze, and stared at him as though he had just announced himself as Emperor of the Galaxy. She placed her hand over her chest, her shimmering skin pulsing faintly with light. Then, in a voice that carried far too well over the crowd, she declared, "Yes, I accept your proposal." Rin blinked. What? Every nearby head turned. A reptilian merchant dropped his basket of fruit, a dozen purple orbs rolling across the floor. Someone whistled. Someone else shouted, "Finally, some drama that isn't about docking fees." Rin held up his hands, panicked. "Wait, no, I didn't. There was no proposal." But the woman Kayla, as he would later learn, was already stepping closer, her expression solemn but her eyes bright. "You have spoken the greeting. The bond is sealed. By the traditions of my people, your words bind our lives as one." A gaggle of insected traders clacked their mandibles in unison. "Oh, he's doomed," one buzzed. "I just said hey," Rin protested. Kayla tilted her head, her long ears twitching slightly as though his denial were adorable. "Yes, the sacred word." Rin raked a hand through his hair. "Sacred, it's 2 letters." The station's central AI chose that moment to chime overhead in its cheerful monotone. "Attention residents, congratulations are in order. A new interspecies union has been announced in Corridor 6. Please refrain from throwing rice until safety checks have been performed." Laughter rolled through the crowd. Rin's coworkers from Docking Bay 12 leaned out of a maintenance hatch, waving and cheering like drunken uncles at a wedding. Kayla stepped closer, her face serious. "You may not understand the weight of what you have done, human, but I do, and I will honor it." Rin opened his mouth, then closed it. His brain supplied several helpful options: fainting, sprinting for the airlocks, inventing time travel, and undoing the last 5 minutes, but none seemed practical. Instead, he managed, "Look, there's been a mistake. I wasn't proposing. I was just being polite." She blinked at him, then frowned in confusion. "You greet strangers with marriage words regularly." The crowd roared with laughter again. Someone shouted, "Human mating rituals are wild." Rin pinched the bridge of his nose. "No, no, no, it's not like that. Where I'm from, hey is just a greeting, friendly, casual, like saying, I don't want to marry you." Her ears twitched again, and she looked genuinely offended. "You greet people by declaring you do not want to marry them. That is cruel." "I didn't say that." By now, Rin was red-faced, and the crowd was eating every second of it like it was the station's entertainment program. A nearby vendor set up a betting pool on how long the engagement would last. Kayla softened suddenly, as though she could see past his blundering words. "Do not fear. Many before you have resisted destiny at first. You will come to accept it." "I'm not resisting destiny," Rin groaned. "I'm resisting getting married to someone I met 30 seconds ago." She tilted her head again, studying him as though he were a fascinating new life form. "Then we have already spoken together longer than most couples in my clan before bonding." The crowd erupted again. Someone yelled, "He's already halfway to the honeymoon." Rin wanted to crawl into the nearest maintenance shaft and never come out. Instead, he grabbed his hovercart and muttered, "This day cannot possibly get worse." The station AI chirped, "Correction, your clan elders have been notified. They will arrive shortly to formalize the union." Rin nearly dropped the cart. "What clan elders?" Kayla's smile was small but certain. "Mine." And just like that, Rin realized his life had taken a very sharp turn. Rin woke up the next morning to find his door chime malfunctioning, or so he thought. The rapid, cheerful tones weren't mechanical, they were Kayla's voice. "Beloved, open this portal, our bond requires nourishment." He buried his head under a pillow. "Not happening, go home, or wherever space brides go." Her voice didn't fade. "Do you intend to starve me, chosen one? That is no way to begin a union. Where I am from, breakfast is sacred." Groaning, Rin dragged himself out of bed and slapped the door panel. The door hissed open, and there she was, tall, luminous, long ears catching the corridor lights, holding a steaming plate of something purple and suspiciously slimy. "I prepared a meal to honor you," she said proudly. Rin squinted at the wriggling contents. "It's moving." "Of course. A proper meal should fight for its survival until the last bite. It keeps the spirit sharp." The food lunged at the edge of the plate. Rin stepped back. Yeah, I usually just toast bread. Kayla followed him inside, uninvited but apparently unconcerned, looking around at the mess of tools and half-finished engine parts scattered across his quarters. So this is the nest of a human male, compact, chaotic, adequate. It's not a nest, Rin muttered, gathering socks off the floor. It's an apartment. She ignored him and placed the plate squarely on his workbench, where it immediately tried to climb into a toolbox. Do you always barge into people's rooms like this? In our tradition, once the bond is spoken, there are no barriers. All that is yours is mine, and all that is mine is yours, including tools. She picked up a spanner and turned it over curiously. What is this? Rin snatched it back. That's mine, my tools are sacred. Kayla smiled faintly. Then we already share a faith, good. Rin rubbed his temples. Listen, Kayla, I don't know how many times I can say this, but I didn't propose. I just said hello. That's it. 2 letters, casual, meaningless. Her ears twitched, a subtle sign of disapproval. Words are never meaningless. Perhaps your species has forgotten this truth, but mine has not. Maybe your species should try forgetting it, Rin shot back. It saves a lot of headaches. She laughed then, unexpected and bright, and Rin felt the sound ripple strangely in his chest. He tried not to notice. Before he could push her out the door, his communicator pinged. He opened it reluctantly. A grinning face filled the screen. Taro, his coworker from Docking Bay 12. Morning, groom, Taro crowed. Big day today, huh? Rin glared. Don't start. Oh, I already started. The whole bay's decorated. We strung quantum couplings like wedding garlands. Docking supervisor nearly cried. Rin shut the communicator off with a growl. Kayla tilted her head, amused. Your clan is preparing for the joining already. They're not my clan, they're idiots. She didn't answer, just continued inspecting his quarters with the calm assurance of someone who believed she had every right to be there. Finally, she sat on his bunk, folding her long legs beneath her with practiced elegance. If you truly object, you will have your chance when the elders arrive. Until then, I remain by your side. Rin froze mid-motion. Elders, right. Forgot about that nightmare. They will expect proof of our bond. We must spend time together, learn each other's ways. Rin groaned. What, like a cosmic speed dating program? She blinked. I do not know what this speed dating is. Does it involve engines? Not unless you're very unlucky. By mid-shift, Kayla had followed him all the way to Docking Bay 12. The other engineers erupted in cheers when they saw her at his side. Someone had stuck a sign above his workstation. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Rin's doom. Kayla surveyed it with regal calm. Your clan is enthusiastic. They're not my clan, Rin repeated, wrenching the sign down. Taro leaned over with a grin. So, when's the ceremony? We've already pooled credits for a gift. Thinking of buying you a robot vacuum. You'll need it, she looks tidy. Rin muttered. She broke into my room with living breakfast. Kayla corrected him smoothly. Shared meal, not broken into. Rin threw his hands up. See, this is my life now. The day passed in chaotic fragments. Rin trying to repair a malfunctioning cargo drone while Kayla followed, asking questions about every tool, every wire, every grunt of frustration. At one point she mistook his sighing for a ritual chant and began humming it back to him. It's not a song, he snapped. Then why repeat it so often? She asked innocently. By evening he was exhausted, grease-stained, and trailed by a woman who believed herself his destined partner. He collapsed onto a crate, rubbing his face. Kayla sat beside him. You fight destiny hard, human. It makes me wonder, do you fear happiness? Rin peeked at her through his fingers. I fear breakfast. Rin had survived training with Kayla by the grace of physics itself, which was to say, he tripped, stumbled, and somehow avoided being impaled by pure accident. By the next morning his arms ached, his legs wobbled, and his pride had filed an official complaint with his brain. Unfortunately, the duel of trust wasn't postponed. The station announced it in glowing banners across every corridor. complete with betting odds that made Rin feel like a doomed gladiator. The best odds gave him 15 seconds before defeat. Kayla, of course, remained serene. She braided her long hair back with glittering strands of metal and adjusted her training garments as if preparing for a festival, not an event that might end with Rin face first on the floor. "Remember what I taught you," she said as they walked toward the arena. "You taught me to despair loudly," Rin muttered, "and to persist. Persist in despairing loudly." "Exactly." The arena was nothing more than a converted cargo bay, but the station authorities had leaned into the spectacle. Hollow screens projected live feeds to every corner of the hub. Vendors sold skewers of glowing meat labeled *dual snacks. Children wore novelty ear extensions in honor of Kayla's people. It was less of a ceremonial event and more of a circus, and somehow Rin was the main act. Elder Zaylan stood at the far end of the bay, tall and imposing, his robe glimmering with patterns that seemed to shift like galaxies. He held a ceremonial staff that probably weighed more than Rin, and his expression promised that this was not going to be gentle. Rin tightened his grip on his own staff, which looked pitiful in comparison. "I'm going to be remembered as the guy who got flattened on Interstellar Live broadcast." Kayla touched his arm lightly. "You will be remembered as the human who dared. I'd rather be remembered as the human who ran away really fast." The AI blared overhead, commencing duel of trust in 3, 2, 1. The elder lunged, Rin screamed. The first clash sent vibrations up his arms, nearly knocking him flat. He stumbled backward, tripping over his own feet, but somehow managed to swing wildly in panic. His staff clanged against the elder's shoulder. The crowd roared with laughter and applause as though he'd actually meant to do that. "Good strike," Kayla shouted. "It was an accident." Rin shouted back, ducking another blow that shaved a lock of hair from his head. The elder pressed forward, but Rin discovered that frantic retreat made him surprisingly unpredictable. He rolled behind a crate, popped up by mistake, and smacked the elder on the hip with a desperate swing. The crowd went wild. Zaylan frowned. "You fight strangely human." "It's called Terra Fu," Rin blurted before ducking another strike. The duel dragged on longer than anyone expected. Each time Rin nearly fell, he flailed into a move that looked intentional. Each time he swung blindly, he made contact by sheer cosmic accident. His persistence, clumsy though it was, began to frustrate the elder. Finally, after Rin tripped over his own foot and crashed into Zaylan with the full weight of his body, both of them toppled to the floor in a heap. Silence held the arena. Then the AI declared, "Match concluded. Victory uncertain but persistence demonstrated." The crowd exploded in cheers. Vendors threw free snacks. Children waved their ear extensions like victory flags. Rin lay sprawled on the floor, gasping, "I'm alive, I won." Kayla appeared above him, smiling radiantly. "You endured, that is victory." Zaylan rose slowly, rubbing his shoulder, then nodded. "The human persists, truly a worthy bond." Rin groaned. "I was trying not to die, not get married." The AI boomed, "Announcement. Duel of trust confirms union's legitimacy. Engagement strengthened." The cheering doubled. Rin wanted to bury himself under the arena floor. The aftermath was chaos. The elders paraded through the station, praising the strange yet effective human style of combat. Merchants began selling imitation staffs labeled *official trust weapons. Rin's co-workers hoisted him onto their shoulders until he bribed them with repair favors to put him down. At the celebratory feast, Rin sat stiffly while Kayla's clan surrounded him with questions. "Does every human duel by screaming? Do your people train by falling down repeatedly? Is terror truly a martial art?" Rin muttered, "Yes, yes, and definitely yes," just to make them stop. Kayla leaned close, her expression softer than he'd seen all day. "You may claim accident, but you showed courage. My people see it, I see it." Rin glanced at her, surprised to find her gaze steady and warm. "You're all insane, you know that." "Perhaps, but sometimes insanity is another word for destiny. Before he could reply, the AI interrupted again. Next event scheduled, diplomatic banquet, warning. Overeating may be interpreted as a treaty violation. Rin groaned into his cup. Great, from dueling to diplomacy, what's next? Kayla's ears twitched with amusement. Marriage. And the terrifying part was, he wasn't entirely sure she was joking. Rin had never seen the station so packed. The council chamber had been converted into something halfway between a courtroom and a wedding hall, with vendors still sneaking in to sell glowsticks and novelty, just bonded t-shirts. Everyone wanted to witness the finale, the human who accidentally proposed and somehow survived the elders, the duel, and several breakfasts. Kayla stood beside him, tall and composed, her shimmering skin catching the light. Rin tried to mirror her calm but mostly looked like a man facing his own funeral. The AI hummed cheerfully overhead. Commencing union confirmation proceedings. Please deposit snacks in approved bins before ceremony. The elders took their seats, robes glimmering with constellations that shifted across the fabric. Elder Zaelan, still rubbing his shoulder from the duel of trust, cleared his throat. Human Rin, you have spoken the sacred greeting. You have endured trial. Now you must declare your truth before the clan. Do you accept the bond? Rin's knees wanted to buckle. The whole station leaned forward, waiting. Some probably had bets riding on whether he'd bolt. He swallowed hard. Look, I know how this all started. I said a word I didn't know meant marriage in your culture. I thought it was a mistake. I fought against it. I complained. I panicked. Honestly, I was an idiot. A murmur swept the chamber. Kayla's ears twitched, but she didn't move. Rin took a breath and kept going. But somewhere between running from breakfast that tried to eat me, getting humiliated by your dual traditions, and being paraded through the station like a galactic clown, I started realizing something. Kayla never laughed at me. She laughed with me. She stood by me. She believed in something bigger than coincidence, and maybe she's right. Maybe destiny